I'm interrupting this video with a brief mid-roll promotion. I wanted to talk to you guys about readings. I'm currently doing natal chart readings and interpretations. So if you would like a personalized video reading that is private and only sent to you, covering your personality, your talents, as well as your financial astrology, and then your destiny or your soul's purpose, which would be based on the North Node placement and the rulers of that, then check the email in my description, which is readings@astroseri.com, and go ahead and send me an email if you would be interested in booking a reading. I also offer aspect table readings, meaning all of the aspects that are in your chart and what they mean. And finally, I offer synastry readings, which is about love and compatibility. For the most part, everybody that I've done a reading has been amazed with the results and has greatly benefited, at least half of whom have left a donation after the reading to show their appreciation, or have purchased a second reading for somebody else or for additional questions that they had. Now, my readings go in depth, so it is not for the faint of heart. So if you do not want to know how you really are based on your chart, then the readings are not for you. If you would like an interpretation of your chart by me, then definitely feel free to send an email. Let me know which type of reading that you're interested in, and we will work things out from there. With that being said, let's get back into the topic of this video. Thank you. Jupiter represents optimism, good fortune, wisdom, and beliefs. Today we'll be talking about Jupiter in Virgo and what this placement means for you if you have it in your chart, as well as what it means to each of the houses. So if you enjoy this video, or you already feel like you're going to enjoy this video, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more content. With that being said, those born with Jupiter in Virgo are guided by practical and material beliefs. Virgo, the sign, is about evidence, what's realistic and predictable, and it's about facts. Generally speaking, Jupiter and Virgo individuals need evidence in order to believe things, or they seek such evidence for the things that they believe. They are guided by structure and tradition, as well as social consensus when it comes to their philosophy or their beliefs. This placement shows someone who manifests good fortune through practicality, hard work, and attention to detail. Consistency, order, and routine are important to them experiencing benevolence from the universe. Jupiter in Virgo also shows those who are wise in a pragmatic sense. They are healthily skeptical and skeptical of things new, shiny, or gimmicky. They know that all that glitters isn't gold, and that a get-rich-quick scheme can also be a scam or just a waste of time. Better to be patient and practical-minded. Jupiter in Virgo bestows good fortune, especially in one's career, finances, and legacy, because Virgo is an earth sign, and earth is all about the material realm. Jupiter in Virgo also someone who achieves mastery within a certain skill, especially one regarding their career, because Jupiter is about knowledge and blessings, and Virgo is about practice or repetition, and it can show mastery and skill. Only through consistency, service, and dedication does one achieve good fortune financially and achieve mastery when they have Jupiter in Virgo. They also tend to learn best from practice and repetition and first-hand experience or observation, hence why they need evidence before they believe things as well. With that being said, let's talk about what Jupiter in Virgo means through each of the houses. So check the timestamp in the description to see which house you have Jupiter in and what it means for you. If you have Jupiter in Virgo in the first house, this is about personality and appearance. With this placement of Jupiter in your first house and in Virgo, you are pragmatic and optimistic. Once you have a solid plan and routine, you feel confident and really optimistic about the results. Jupiter also gives one a humorous or benevolent personality. You see the humor in all the little details. You see the irony of life. And you are constantly learning and creating meaning through observation and evidence when you have Jupiter and Virgo in the first house. And generally speaking, this shows people that are optimistic because they feel that there is so much to explore in life, or like so many things to find out the truth about, or like to find evidence for. Next, if you have Jupiter in Virgo in the second house, this is about resources and possessions. Those with Jupiter here in the second house and in Virgo have a gift with money. Truly. They know how to make it, how to save it, how to spend it, etc. They have a resourceful mindset and are wise about expenditure when it comes to resources. With this placement of Jupiter, money comes to you easily through simple consistency, routine, and dedication to work. Once you found your rhythm, you don't have to worry about such things as finances, which is the blessing of Jupiter being here. Jupiter shows things that come easy to us. Your finances or possessions may require a lot of tracking and organization in the process, but Jupiter bestows good wealth from your wisdom and your wise choices. Next, if you have Jupiter and Virgo in the third house, this is about the mind and communication. This placement shows that you are an abundant and inspiring communicator because you simply have a lot to talk about. Jupiter expands things, and the third house is about our mind, our ideas, and like our thoughts. Generally speaking, those with Jupiter and Virgo in the third house know a lot of practical things, and they know all of the current gossip or news. They are generally knowledgeable about a lot of facts or statistics, and they tend to use such things in order to rationalize or come up with ideas, and they just think a lot about statistics, facts, or what is the truth. And as a result of their way of thinking, which revolves around knowledge and information, they get a lot of great ideas from the things that they know or discover from day to day. These are practical opportunists. They discover a lot of practical opportunities in the process. Jupiter and Virgo in the third house, people are curious and observant, and they are always questioning the why of things. They're able to relate their opinions or philosophy easily to others through evidence and observations. Next, if you have Jupiter and Virgo in the fourth house, this indicates that you have a gifted intuition. Intuition is just the ability to come to a conclusion or to an answer, and your way of coming to a conclusion is through facts or evidence or observation. Your sensitivity to practical details makes you clever and a great problem solver. Routine, familiarity, and momentum gives you optimism and emotional fulfillment as well, because the fourth house is about emotional fulfillment and security. Those with Jupiter and Virgo in the fourth house are guided by a pragmatic wisdom or philosophy. They accumulate a lot of wealth, generational wealth, in fact, real estate, lands perhaps as well, because the fourth house is about homes and it's about land. It's about our living situation. And through their patience and long-term mindset, they attract a lot of abundance in general. Those that have Jupiter and Virgo in the fourth house are inspired by the long-term picture. They are patient and they are guided by truths or facts that have been true for a long time, that will be true for the foreseeable future. So they have a realistic belief system. If you have Jupiter and Virgo in the fifth house, this placement of Jupiter gives you an abundance of energy because the fifth house is about energy and it's about our character. It gives you also a lot of momentum and willpower. And those that have this placement have a strong sense of purpose, a big role to play in the form of service or life's work. You will achieve mastery in a certain craft and it will become one of your recognized talents when you have this placement. The work or talent you perform is and will give value to others, perhaps catch their attention and be in alignment to your passions, because the fifth house is about passions. It will inspire or entertain. And from a young age, those that are born with Jupiter and Virgo in the fifth house have felt this strong sense of purpose or a strong desire to discover their purpose and their life's work. And they perhaps do that through an educational path, but the sun sign will indicate what that life's work or purpose revolves around in the chart. Next, if you have Jupiter and Virgo in the sixth house, the general meanings of Jupiter and Virgo may resonate more strongly when you have it in the sixth house of Virgo as well. Without routine, work, or momentum, you lose your sense of optimism and direction. You are not so much inspired by familiarity and order, but enabled by it. You could work in an educational field or a skills-related job or educational field. Whatever work that you do your job very well when you have Jupiter and Virgo in the sixth house, because it shows one that achieves mastery in their work field, and they do everything pragmatically and precisely. Next, if you have Jupiter in Virgo in the 7th house, this is about how you relate to others, because the 7th house shows our relationships and how we relate. Your optimistic and service-oriented spirit makes you relatable to others when you have this placement. You may manifest an abundance of practical connections and relationships, also work-related ones. Simply due to your service-oriented spirit, you are wise in relationships over time, even approaching mastery when it comes to relationships. This is all due to familiarity, repetition, patterns, and personal experience. With Jupiter being in your 7th house in Virgo, sometimes you are too involved in the lives of others or in helping them. You feel your actions go unnoticed at times because a connection is not reciprocal, but there is no need to worry, as Jupiter here indicates your worth and that indeed you are a blessing to others because you have Jupiter in the house of others. As a result, you will manifest an abundance of relationships. Next, if you have Jupiter in Virgo in the 8th house, this is about what is subconscious and what we cannot know or control. That's what the 8th house represents. And Jupiter here gives an awareness of the vastness of life and reality and the infinite amount of things that we can't know or control. So this placement indicates that you are wise in that sense, and you're open-minded, spiritually inclined, and curious. You ask great questions, perfect questions actually. You may have paranormal experiences or past observations, and don't take your ability to be aware of what is unconscious for granted, because to have an awareness of that which humans or what we cannot be aware of is actually a rare capacity. It's an unusual form of wisdom, believe it or not. This placement, on the other hand, of Jupiter being in Virgo, which is about worry or stress, can make you prone to stress, anxiety, or worry. Your biggest blessing will come from transformative moments of philosophical rebirth or like major epiphanies. You are a deeply knowledgeable person, perhaps even a master of the occult, the closest thing to a real magician. Next, if you have Jupiter in Virgo in the 9th house, what this shows about you is that you're somebody that knows an abundance of information or practical knowledge, or knowledge with the reasoning, facts, and science behind it. And generally speaking, this placement just shows knowledgeable people in the practical sense, and those that are meticulous behind the reasoning of things. And generally speaking, once something has the evidence or reasoning to back it, they have no problem believing it or having the faith to believe it. But to summarize, it really just shows people that know an abundance of information or practical knowledge, and they know like the specifics about things. So they don't have vague beliefs. They know something and they can also explain it. So, and they can explain it in detail. If they can't explain something in detail, then they likely will not believe it or make it a part of their system of beliefs. Next, if you have Jupiter in Virgo in the 10th house, what this placement shows is it shows a lot of success and material abundance. Those that have this placement are guided by success, tradition, hierarchy, and status or structure. That is because the 10th house is ruled by Saturn, and it's all about our ambitions, our success, and our reputation, and it's all about authority. And generally speaking, those with Jupiter and Virgo in the 10th house take the patient, consistent, and disciplined road to success, acquiring all the proper education and credentials along the way. They generally have a strong optimism in their futures and in their success, and their career falls together quite gracefully in the transition from being a young adult to an independent individual in society. And their career can fall together quite serendipitously. And these individuals, though not without the fair share of worry and stress and planning, have great fortune within their careers. And they are professionally blessed. Next, if you have Jupiter in Virgo in the 11th house, what this placement shows is, for one, since the 11th house is the second house from the 10th house. The second house is about gains. It's about finances. And so the 11th house shows gains from one's career. And it just shows streams of income. Having Jupiter here in the second from the 10th and in Virgo brings recurring streams of income and a lot of abundance from that, because Jupiter is about abundance. And this abundance can come over time from having a recurring stream of income, or from just having recurring streams of income in general bringing you abundance. The 11th house is about technology, progress, and participation. It's about the groups that we're part of, and it's about our individuality, what makes us unique. And these individuals are generally optimistic about the future and feel as though they have a role through their work or service of bringing it about. They are open-minded individuals, believing in what is possible, but what makes sense and has evidence. These are people with strong logical convictions about how things in society should be organized. They have very specific interests or causes they believe in. Finally, this leads us to Jupiter in Virgo in the 12th house. Generally speaking, Jupiter in the 12th house gives a strong intuition. And Jupiter in Virgo shows someone that is sensitive to details or is observant and perceptive of evidence. And so the combination of this placement being in the 12th house and in Virgo shows that your awareness of detail and your tendency to make connections allows you to see the big picture in life. You read people and social situations quite accurately, even magically. You have a good perception or imagination of such things. You pick up on or read the subtle meanings that are written in the details. Subtleties that even the most attentive of people would still not be able to connect, of what people say, do, or imply, and just about your surroundings in general. Also, having a good perception of details and how they will be perceived gives you the gift of creativity and artistry. So you are bestowed creative and artistic gifts, artistic talent, I should say, if you choose to apply it. But this all comes from your ability to read the meaning of details. So this can be helpful for a creative person. You understand or have a good imagination of how things will be perceived, so you're able to convey a creative meaning well through an art piece or through some sort of creative expression in the form that you are passionate about. So with that being said, that summarizes the meaning of Jupiter and Virgo through each of the houses. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to this channel. And if this resonated with you and you would like a personalized natal chart reading video delivered to you by email, then check the link in my description to my website, which is astroseri.com, and book a reading. As well, check out my Patreon if you'd like to tune in to my weekly podcast about manifestation and answering different subscriber questions, as well as weekly transit horoscopes that I post. So anyway, with that being said, I appreciate you guys watching and supporting in any way that you do, and I'll talk to you guys sometime soon in another video. Peace.